Well, the Chicago Bulls very busy during the trade deadline. Chicago trading John Salmons to Milwaukee for a couple of expiring contracts. Salmons, one of the top scorers for the Chicago Bulls. That'll help out Milwaukee at the two-guard spot. Meanwhile, Tyrus Thomas also on the move. He had fallen into disfavor with head coach Vinny Del Negro. What did they trade him for? A couple of expiring deals. You guys sense a theme here? Hey, here's a look at Chicago's salaries for next season. Here's what they have on the books. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players. So Chicago is going to be well under the salary cap and a major player in the Eastern Conference in the NBA. Right now, the Bulls guys tied for 6th place in the Eastern Conference. J.A., you look at the Bulls, they helped out. Actually, they traded players to teams that are chasing them right now in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, John Salmons to Milwaukee, who definitely needed help at the shooting guard position because they lost Michael Redd to another knee injury. So they boosted their chances. They lose Tyrus Thomas, who maybe didn't fit in all the Bulls' plans. I think the thinking there is at least they got a draft pick. Yes, 2 expiring contracts, which helps with the financial situation this summer. You can get a draft pick, so a little something to show for Tyrus Thomas's terms in Chicago. However, what's going to happen this season? I had a chance to speak to Vinny Del Negro today, the Chicago Bulls coach, and he said they haven't abandoned this season, and that one of the reasons they held on to Kirk Hinrich. Hinrich's name came up a lot in trade talks. You heard they wanted to move out because they wanted to help clear some salary cap space for this summer. Kirk Hinrich was scheduled to make $9 million for next year, but he says he's an intangible guy. He's the type of guy that, you can't necessarily measure all of his impact on statistics. And one of the stats is a 38% field goal percentage this year. But defensively, some of the leadership that he shows on that team. So they've maintained him. So he thinks that, okay, this can help. And you still have Derrick Rose playing much better now that he's healthy than he did at the start of the season. So you do have that, and that's a potential inducement to a free agent to come play alongside Derrick Rose.
Well, the Bulls kept enough to make the playoffs in the Eastern Conference, but they know they're first round and out. Maybe they make it a nice series like they did last year against Boston, but they're first round and out. Jerry West just mentioned the haves and the have-nots. The Bulls are a have-not right now, or maybe somewhere in the middle. They're now trying to become a have because this summer they're going to have enough cap room now after these trades to offer somebody a maximum contract salary. Chicago's a great city, got a great tradition, obviously, with Michael Jordan, a great point guard in Derrick Rose, a nice player in Joakim Noah, Luol Deng. This is a prime destination for these free agents, and I think they are going to get either Chris Bosh or Carlos Boozer, so they're in good shape.
This helps the Charlotte Bobcats. They get more size up front. You got Nazir Muhammad, who's shown he has a pulse the last couple of weeks. You got Tyson Chandler, who's been in and out of the lineup. You got Tyrus Thomas up front. You got Gerald Wallace, who's an all-star, to go with Steven Jackson. Now, legitimately, they could be a top 4, top 5 team in the East and scare a team once they get into the playoffs because they have that toughness across the front line, and they have Felton in the backcourt who's shown he can make big shots. For the Bulls, for the Milwaukee Bucks, they could possibly make the playoffs if you're the Bucks and you're a Bucks fan. But really, as you mentioned, for the Bulls, it's all about the future and who they can sign in the offseason.
You look at the Bobcats and the deal that they just made. Does this put them in win-now mode and get into the playoffs?
Well, Larry Brown's always in win-now mode. And
I don't know about that. Depends on what
makes you say that?
Well,
he's been coaching 9 teams for a reason.
Win now and then move on. But he wants to win now because who knows? This could be his last year in Charlotte, especially with them getting new ownership. But Steven Jackson, Gerald Wallace, these guys are about winning now. And they are in the playoffs right now. I think the 8th seed, maybe in the East, 7th, 8th. But they should stay in the playoffs with this move. They were looking for a backup 4-man. Tyrus Thomas, one of their advantages with a lot of teams was their athleticism, and Tyrus Thomas just adds to that. So I do think they're a team that could be a spoiler for somebody in the Eastern Conference.
Thomas getting a nice change of scenery in Charlotte with head coach Larry Brown.